basis, when all the social partners, true that our economy has been losing jobs over a period of a decade, been going down, of loss of jobs has actually been going up, and we have reached alarming status. It's actually a crisis, and I would say an emergency. We therefore need to do everything we can to create jobs, and we need to get all structures, all stakeholders to participate in fostering job creation. Infrastructure build is one of the key areas or platforms that we are going to be focusing on to increase the infrastructure built in our country, to increase investment in our economy, and also to increase job creation. Now, a number of ideas are coming forward, and earlier I met officials of the PEC, and they raised what we've always talked about. They raised the issue of the Mthatha Dam, and they said, President, when is this dam happening? Because there was sword turning like 10 or so years ago, and up till today, the people in the Eastern Cape are looking forward to going beyond the sword turning and this dam being built. If you listen carefully to what I said at SONA, I said we have reached an advanced stage now with regards to Mthatha. We are now going to be going out to get those proposals for the design and everything, but we are also going out to source the funding. Comrade Senzo Mtunu is busy day in and day out on that dam. I told him, Comrade Senzo, don't tell me that you sleep at night. I just want you to focus on Mthatha Dam. So that's exactly what he's going to be doing. So that, and I'm still going to go and visit. I've told Comrade Kappa that I will go and visit that spot so that we see how this dam is going to be constructed. And one of the thoughts is that it should be done on a modular basis. And dams at times can be built on a modular basis, increasing all the time. So the engineering conceptualization and all that, yes, it's getting underway, and the financing will accompany that as we move on. So comrades, at an economic level, obviously, we want to see more and more economic growth, and the windfall that we have had with revenue due to commodity prices helps us to some extent, helps us to reduce debt, but also to address some of the needs. The needs that we have as a country are enormous, huge risks, huge needs, and state capture did not help at all, because what it did do is to increase the debt levels of a number of state-owned enterprises, which we need to support, like ESCOM, because ESCOM cannot be allowed to fail. And we also need to address a number of other social needs. So much work needs to be done at the economic level, and we believe that the efforts that we are putting in place with the reforms that we are implementing are going to see better yields coming through, particularly with our energy challenges in relation to ESCOM. So we are going to continue facilitating an environment for the economy to grow. The other area, comrades, which is part of the program of action that I spoke about, which Comrade Nkunu also touched on, is the service delivery. And many of us will agree that one of the reasons why our level of support went down is the poor service delivery implementation right across the country, where we as the African National Congress are in control or have been in control. Service delivery levels went seriously down. But the worst part of it is that in some cases there was underspending. money had been budgeted and money was not spent. And money, in a number of cases, is returned to the fiscus. Now, I call that, apart from corruption, one of the worst crimes that any of us as public representatives can commit. That money is there, it's available to embark on a number of service delivery projects, but we don't spend it. And in the end, it is returned. Now, we are now going to focus, from the presidency level, we're going to focus on budget implementation, working together with Treasury to see to it that when money is budgeted for particular projects and purposes, it is spent. And that where there is no spending of that money, there should be consequences. Because you should be able to account why you have not spent money. You are given money, but you don't spend it. And of course, sometimes there are quite a number of reasons why people don't spend money. Because those who are thieves and robbers and who are committed to malfeasance want to find ways of stealing that money. Now, we are going to bring that to an end because it's totally unacceptable. One of the tasks that we set out for ourselves is to address corruption. We need to address corruption. Many people are disaffected from the ANC because of corruption. They see corruption just continuing to rise. But then again, they don't see those who are involved in corrupt acts being punished. A number of you also said that here. And some of you even said, we need to see even the big names in our own organization being punished so that people should see that being involved in corruption is not the way to go. And comrades, that is going to happen. Because corruption, comrades, robs our people of service delivery. And we also need to conduct the anatomy of corruption and see how corruption manifests itself. Because there are people who set up systems and structures and processes just to steal money. And we are going to put them in their tracks. Because one of our objectives is to ensure that we do stop corruption. The issue, comrades, of renewal and strengthening our organization is our overriding task, as Comrade Senzo also said. The NEC agreed to set up a renewal commission. Now this commission is going to be populated. It's going to have a number of comrades who are of great standing and long-standing experience in our movement, who will be able to deal with the various aspects and be able to set out fully what renewal actually means. How should we go about renewing ourselves? I should say, so that you can take courage, that, you know, the Communist Party of China, it took them years, more than 10 years, to work out a system of renewing themselves, to actually come up with a clear program of how they need to renew themselves, because they also had corruption that was rife in the party, in the country, and they took the trouble to look at ways and means in which they can renew themselves as a party. And comrades, we've started that journey. We want to go beyond just talking about corruption. We want to be able to say we are now fully dealing with corruption. And that is our destination. So the Renewal Commission is going to help how we deal with renewal, how we reposition our organization, and how we rebuild the African National Congress so that it can go back to being that leader of society, because many of us yearn for those glory days when the African National Congress was clearly seen by all and sundry as the leader of society and as an organization that was the to-go-to organization, both by our people, by various institutions. It was the organization that you needed to go to as a reservoir of integrity, reservoir of all the values, reservoir of good behavior rather, and a reservoir of help and assistance that our people needed. So that has been damaged, but it has not been damaged beyond repair. Many people often say that it's damaged beyond repair. No, it isn't. We are going to renew this organization and rebuild it. Whether people like it or not, it is going to happen. Now, this process of our renewal should enhance the ANC's political renewal and rebuilding, and that must be the overarching principle that we need to be focusing our attention on. And this obviously is in line with what the NEC decided should be our task in January this year. Now, our renewal process should be a renewal process that holds dear the ANC's values, its principles, its ideals, its convictions, as well as its purpose. And this it should do as a foundation of our unity. This is about harnessing our movement's enthusiasm, energy, and ensuring that our members are enthused and encouraged to be part of this process of renewal. And our renewal process, comrades, should also look closely at the type of leaders that the African National Congress should have. We need to go back to our document through the eye of the needle. And if there ever was a time for us to go and dust it up and look at it closely, this is the time. Because you cannot have renewal if you do not have leaders who are going to be fit for that purpose of renewal. One of the comrades here mentioned that at times we have comrades who even go to an extent of wanting to stand for election when they themselves know that they are implicated in various acts. And yet he's got a whole range of things that he knows he has to be answerable for. And they want to stand, I want to be chairman, I want to be secretary of this, and yet there are issues. Some of them even do that when they are charged. Clearly charged when they should have stepped aside completely from even trying to contest positions. And this, comrades, is the ethos that we must instill in our organization. We've got to demonstrate to our people, and we are not doing it for ourselves as current leaders that we want to hold on to our position. We are doing it for our membership, but also for our people and for our country. Because no one will support the African National Congress when we don't demonstrate our own commitment to the value system that we've embraced. Combating corruption and continuing to improve governance should be one of our overriding objectives. Now, the Zondo Commission has already come out with proposals, and as the ANC, we are going to go through a rather challenging process, but we need courage to go through that, so that we can see how best we're able to implement the recommendations that are going to come through the Zondo Commission. And for that we need courage, and we do not need to be cowed down. And comrades, this we should do if we want the African National Congress to continue winning elections. If we don't do that, we can forget about our ability to win those elections. The other issue, comrades, which we raised in the January 8th statement, and I want to raise it once again because at times we find that challenges are thrown at us. It's a question of discipline. Discipline in the African National Congress continues to be eroded. The continued lack of discipline of some members who, when they are not, say for instance, selected for positions, elected positions, they go out and become independent candidates. That's what one of you also said. But the other worrying part of it is that violence has now become a method of resolving differences in the ANC. Members get beaten at meetings. Even female members are beaten by men in ANC meetings. Members get shot at ANC meetings. Some even get killed. Members get shot either when they are at their homes and so forth. And this has to stop. And those who are involved in this need to be dealt with very, very strongly in terms of our constitution. We don't need people like that in the African National Congress. Now, a number of you also spoke about the manipulation of ANC processes. And this we saw playing itself out as we selected candidates for the election process. A number of reports came, and Comrade Kgalema Motlante's commission also reported on a number of acts of manipulating processes. Now, clearly this is going to be attended to. We did promise that this must be attended to, and it will be attended to, so that we do not fall foul of having not done anything about these incidents, like we did not finally implement the Comrade Nkosazana's report. And one of you suggested that there should be consequences for those who manipulate ANC processes. I could not agree more. I agree that anyone who manipulates ANC processes should be disciplined, and the consequences must be swift and they must be direct, because that is a system of fraud and corruption in our own organization, and that must be brought to an end so that anyone in the future who seeks to participate in acts like that must know that Alfagwa. They must know that I must never go there. So this, comrades, we have to do. A number of you spoke about factions, and you spoke against factions, and I find this comforting, that factions must not be allowed in the ANC, and factions obviously are formed because people in the main have interests or principles that they seek to defend. And we must therefore ensure that factionalism in the organization is eliminated. And there are ways in which factionalism can be eliminated. And we have seen where it is being eliminated, comrades find ways and wonderful ways of being able to work together. And this issue of thinking that your enemy is your enemy forever and you are going to belong to one faction against the other must come to an end. Because as the ANC, one of our DNAs is to be able to sit down and discuss our differences and find ways in which we mediate our differences and moderate them so that we can work in the interests of our people. The state of our branches, comrades, is something that was raised by Comrade Bandi. He specifically said, having a scan around the country, we find that our branches are weak. They're challenged. And in some cases, they don't really even exist. some cases they exist on paper only. In some cases they exist for BGM so that people can be elected. They exist for regional conferences and provincial conferences. Now we need to breathe life into our branches. And it is this that we now need to redefine what a branch in good standing is. A member in good standing is well defined even in the Constitution. We now need to look at the branch. Our Constitution currently says a branch in good standing needs to be means that a branch is recognized by the ANC to be fully compliant of its obligations in terms of the Constitution. It never sets out what those obligations are. And I think that we now need to define, as we move on with our renewal process, what a branch in good standing means. What are the key elements and features of a branch in good standing? So that those branches that do not comply with what will have been set out very clearly in the Constitution should be branches that we say, then you do not exist, so that it becomes a disincentive for people to belong to a branch that is not alive. Because in the end, our branches must live to serve the people of South Africa. That's all our branches should be doing, to make sure that we serve our people, we are well connected with the lives of our people. So we need to begin to describe those branches and see what the key attributes should be with regards to the branch. The analysis of the elections, much as you say you performed well, led you to say that you can do better. And I believe even here in the Eastern Cape you can do better. One of you even went on to say that we should compare our performance not just to a few years, but we should compare our performance with how you performed here in the Eastern Cape in 1994. Because in 1994 you scaled the high percentages and got up to 82 or even more. And I believe that it is possible. Because the way we've been running our elections currently, not all hands are on deck. And I think we can all admit that. Not everyone is totally committed to our election efforts. And in fact, some leaders don't even lift a finger during the election process. They don't even lift a finger. Abanye bayabonakala, behlezi ekhaya. When there's an election raging, umuntu uhlezi nje ekhaya e-lounge yakhe uvela ejonga abantu behamba phaya estradeni when he's a leader or she's a leader. Now, as we lead up to 2024, comrades, we now need to be saying every person who is in leadership must now be measured and monitored on their ability to participate in the election campaign. And if they don't, we must then shout them out, speak about them and say, well, now you are a member of the NEC. You were never seen in the election campaign. You were given this task and you never participated. I believe that if all hands were on deck during this election, our election outcome would have been a lot better. Because many of our people did not go out to vote. Now, if our branches were alive, and if our leadership were out there, and if our volunteers, Comrade JC, you are absolutely right, I'm a volunteer way to this, they need to be supported. We don't pay stipends to our volunteers, but they need to be given drink and food as they go about electioneering for our movement. Now, if we had done that, and we had gone all out, and we would not have known the people who might have been feeling lazy to go to the elections and so forth, and we would have encouraged them. The other thing, of course, which was raised by another comrade, was that this was the first time that we held an election campaign on a Monday. It was an error. because all our elections have always been held during the middle of the week, where we just interrupt whatever people are doing during the week to go and vote, rather than to have a long weekend where people will not go and vote. So much as the odds were against us, comrades, we did need to have all hands on deck. The registration process, sifulwa iDA. iDA is able to get all their supporters out to go and register. We don't. And we are supposed to be the experts of door-to-door. We originated it door-to-door. And we are the ones who know the impact and the effect of it door-to-door. And one of the comrades was right in saying, I think it was Comrade Bandilo was saying, the way we now conduct it door-to-door, we just go to a few houses, we are in cocaine, and then we all follow. And we no longer get everyone doing their own door-to-door with the street sheets. Street sheets have now disappeared. And we used to use street sheets effectively. And as we get clouds, because I can't get a cloud, but a street sheet is still the best way of being able to reach out to our people. So in order for us, comrades, to be more successful in the next election, we need to go back to basics, to the way we have always run our elections. In candidate selection, I believe we have come out with a good method of selecting candidates, much as we now have opened the participation for confirmation of our candidates or deconfirmation to communities. We need to take that in our stride. Someone mentioned, it was Comrade Bandile, election day coordination, that it was absent. And when we saw how people were not going out, we knew that something was very, very wrong. Comrades, increasing and improving the capacity of the state means that we don't only improve it at national level or at the presidency level. We need to improve it all the way down, even at municipal level. We need to improve the political management of the dynamics in the municipality. We need to ensure that there is more oversight, but more accountability. And we need to improve the way we monitor, so that the monitoring must tell us if there are early signs of distress. Because early signs of distress or signs of distress finally leads to either the municipality collapsing, either the municipality overspending, for instance, on things like salaries, hiring more and more people, and in the end you find the municipality is paying 60% of its budget on salaries. And once it gets to that point, you know that that municipality is going to fail, and it will reach a stage where it does not even have the ability to pay salaries to its workers. So we need to strengthen e-monitoring, and that's precisely what we are going to do. One comrade spoke about the amendment of the Structures Act, and I agree that, yes, we need to have a look once again at the amendment of the Structures Act. I'm going to be meeting in Contralesa, I think tomorrow morning or so. They have raised this issue now. They want us to address it. And in my view, they are raising it genuinely, and we need to listen to see how best we can resolve this. They've raised a whole number of other issues which we are keen to address. In fact, I've directed the DP to work on addressing many or all the issues that the traditional leaders have raised with us. So the Structures Act is one of those that we are going to raise. The election formula is, and I've heard Comrade Senzo speaking very, very fervently about it. And this election formula issue is coming up because of our own weakness, because we are no longer able to use the basic methods that we used in the past of getting many people out to go and vote, because it really depends on voter turnout. But it was also crafted to ensure that the parties that will get less votes, and this was done for national unity and national cohesion and so forth. It's part of the whole proportional representation process to ensure that in the end there is representation. But now it is working against us. What we need to ask ourselves, comrades, is the extent to which our own weaknesses are going to make us to keep on changing things in the law or in the Constitution. What we should be focusing on is that this is a very good warning for us as the African National Congress to change the way that we work, to improve ourselves. And we need to ask ourselves, why are people no longer voting for us in such large numbers? We take a mirror, we look at ourselves. The diagnostic report that was presented at the 54th conference was such a mirror. Creation of social distance between us, the issue of corruption that had set in, which has ballooned and resulted in state capture, was part of the reasons why people started walking away from us. And in the end, unless we address those issues, we will find that our returns become less and less and less. This is a problem and a challenge that is being faced by former liberation movements in our region here. Namibia, Mozambique, and many of these other places. We are facing exactly the same problem. So this is not unique to us. But what we now need to do is to demonstrate that as the African National Congress, we have come to grips with what our problems are and what our challenges are, and put in place measures and systems that are going to disincentivize those who are acting or doing things that militate against our values. And unless we do that, we can forget being the African National Congress of Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, Mama Sisulu. In order for us to go back there, we've got to act now against those amongst us who perpetrate acts of corruption. You know, comrades, sometimes you find a situation where people look at government, money that belongs to our people, money that belongs to the state, as an opportunity for them to go and grab that money, to enrich themselves. And they come up with schemes. And some of the schemes are overpricing that takes place in government. Something that would have cost maybe 2 million, like a stadium. We read about a stadium here, cost 15 million rand. Really? Could this thing have cost so much money? And when you look at it, and when you do a proper diagnostic, you will find that there was overcharging, overpayment, and money just started going. And sometimes it's almost illegitimate, but it goes to places where we don't get value. Now, this is what we need to get to grips with. To say that when government spends money, it must be for good value. We must be able to say, when we have bought something, we have not overpaid. And I've always held the view, Comrade Suguti, government must never overpay for anything. And if we want to empower our people, to empower various companies, we need to say, this process will be handled in this way, and we need to say, but there should never be any overcharging. And sometimes you pay a premium. You pay a premium for certain processes. And if you have to pay a premium, it must never be a premium of 100%, 200%, 300%. And where you find that government is just spending money, and this is where the money that we should be saving, that should be utilized for a variety of other projects, just goes to waste. So in the end, apart from underspending, we have the process of overspending, wasteful expenditure, and just plain fraud and corruption. This is what we need to curb, and this is what we need to bring to an end. I've come to believe, Uguti, one of our money is not our biggest challenge. There is money in the system. Money is there to attend to the various needs of our people. It is just how that money is spent. And we're now going to be saying to Treasury, keep a hawk's eye on how money is going to be spent on an ongoing basis. When there is tendering, let's look at how that tendering is going to be done and how the money is going to flow. And in this case, the Auditor General also helps us. Comrades, I believe that if we can curb corruption, if we can curb all these acts, we will be able to restore the standing of the African National Congress in the eyes of our people. We will be able to have a much better election run, where people will say, this is an organization that is working in our interest. So Comrade raised the issue of the 350, which Sichong, I think he was trying to say, the 350 must now be transformed into a basic income grant. We did say, we're going to pay this 350 once again. The challenge that we have is the resources. The resources to do all manner of things. To be able, yes, to ramp up a whole number of things, including what we should pay. Some people have said, no, the 350 is too little. You should be paying at least at the food poverty line, which will be 624 or something like that. I would say, yes, that would be desirable, but at the moment, all we can afford is the 350 because there are quite a number of other needs that we have to meet. But the message has been put forward, and we are talking to a whole number of organizations, community-based organizations, about how best we can go about protecting our people. One of the things that even led me to say this is the way we should go is this sense that one had that with 10 or 11 million people unemployed, what do they eat? How do they survive? How do they get on with their lives? Should we be a government that just does not care, that shows no consideration to our people? And we said, within the means that we have, we will want to care for our people so that we demonstrate that we are a compassionate state. As it is now, you will have heard the Minister of Finance, Comrade Kotongwana, say 46 million people. Did he say 46? Yes, almost 46 million people in our country, in one way or another, are dependent on the state. Of course, we want to reduce that, and we will be able to reduce that over time as our economy grows. But right now, we're finding that a number of our people just are living in poverty, and we are here to address the poverty levels of our people. So, comrades, as a government, we are irrevocably committed to improving the lives of our people. That is the ANC way. And in doing so, we will do everything we possibly can to continue improving the lives of our people. You spoke about youth employment. quite a number of initiatives that we focus on in this State of the Nation address and the budget is on youth employment. There are many young people who are unemployed, and we are putting in place a number of projects to get young people employed. Now, Comrade Oscar Mabuyane and myself have been talking a great deal about how the poverty levels in the province here, in the Eastern Cape, need to be addressed, because apart from Limpopo, Eastern Cape and KZN, these are the really poor provinces in our country. We need to be focusing, and we've got a number of initiatives that we will be embarking on. So, comrades, I look forward to the time when I will come back here, when we will no longer be talking about elections, but we will be talking about economic development and how we can develop this province and get it to move forward, to reduce the poverty levels in this province. So with that, comrades, it's been a joy for me to be in your presence, and thank you very much for enriching the discussion in the way that you did. Amandla! Amandla!
Comrades Amanda.